by Gammadda. Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
Good afternoon. Today is the 29th of July 2022. Welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, where the people come first, I'm Janatha Vimukthi. Before we take a look at the stories in detail, let's take a look at the headlines.
Until an adequate macroeconomic policy framework is in place, no plan to offer new financing to Sri Lanka, says World Bank. Energy Minister suggests to restructure the Ceylon Electricity Board. Police raid the office of the Frontline Socialist Party. China-Sri Lanka practical cooperation has always follows the principle of being Sri Lanka-led. China responds to comments by Samantha Power, administrator of US aid. 11 committees cease to function after the parliament is prorogued. The US and Chinese leaders warn each other over Taiwan.
Onto those stories in detail. The World Bank Group says that it's deeply concerned about the dire economic situation and its impact on the people of Sri Lanka. The World Bank said that until an adequate macroeconomic policy framework is in place, the World Bank does not plan to offer new financing to Sri Lanka. This requires deep structural reforms that focus on the economic stabilization and also on addressing the root structural causes that created this crisis to ensure that Sri Lanka's future recovery and development is resilient.
For our people who are starving, for those who suffer in silence, for the people in need, breaking barriers and bringing hope to their lives. Across rural Sri Lanka, Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
In more news, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Linjian said China-Sri Lanka practical cooperation has always followed the principle of being Sri Lanka-led. He was responding to a question posed at the regular press briefing on the comments made by Samantha Power, administrator of US aid, who said on July 27th that China has provided Sri Lanka with opaque loan deals at higher interest rates than other lenders and financed infrastructure projects that often served little practical use over the past 20 years.
China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said all cooperation projects have gone through scientific planning and through assessment and never attached with any political strings. He said that shortly after Sri Lanka's announcements to suspend international debt payments, Chinese financial institutions reached out to the Sri Lankan side and showed full readiness to find a proper way to handle the mature debts concerning China and help Sri Lanka to overcome the difficulties. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson stressed that the global economic and financial markets have suffered enormously as a result of the US's recent sudden interest rate hike and balance sheet reduction, which have rapidly siphoned off dollars on top of the US's long-running quantitative easing policy and irresponsible massive stimuluses.
Sri Lanka police had conducted a search on the premises of the Frontline Socialist Party office located in Nugegoda. Academic Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party, Pubudu Jagara, told Newsfirst that 2 police teams carried out the search.
Academic Secretary of the FSP, Pubudu Jagara, told Newsfirst that 2 police teams that arrived in a white van were involved in the search. He said that only 1 officer was in uniform and the rest were in civil attire. In addition to the white van, police officers also arrived in police vehicles attached to the Nugegoda SP office.
අපි ඇහුවා උන්ගෙන් ඔගොල්ලෝ මොන පොලිසියද කියලා. අඩුම තරමේ උන් පොලිසිය සඳහන් කරේවත් නැහැ.
We asked them what police division they belong to. They did not even provide us that information. Another unit of around 30 police officers raided our premises. One group had already come here. We asked the second group why they came when another group had just left. They said they did not even know about the first group. We asked for a search warrant. They presented it to us. It was a search warrant issued for Vasantha Mudalige. He is the convener of the Inter-University Student Federation. There's no basis for them to search the Frontline Socialist Party office presenting a search warrant for Vasantha Mudalige. They are suppressing us. They are trying to stop the uprising of the people through these forms of suppression.
නැගිටීම පාලනය කරන්න පුළුවන් මෙවැනි මර්ධන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග හරහා. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි මේ ලෑස්ති.
Meanwhile, trade union leader Udeni Kalutantri was arrested by the police today. Sri Lanka police said that he was arrested for unlawfully entering the president's office and for desecration of the president's flag. In more local news, a silent protest was staged at the Occupy Golface protest site.
The protest was attended by religious leaders, civil society representatives and many others. The protesters are calling for the release of those illegally arrested.
Meanwhile, the Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna says it is concerned about the government's actions in terms of suppressing the Aragale activists as well as prohibiting them from travelling overseas. The party expressed these concerns during a media briefing today.
The cabinet has been taken over by thieves who looted the wealth of the people. At the same time, they have suppressed the leaders of the Aragalaya who are law-abiding citizens. They have issued court orders taking away their right to travel overseas. Where is the justice in all this? This is Ranil Rajapaksa's policy to protect thieves. Please stop this immediately. Please stop arresting the youth who are fighting for justice. This is a fight between society as a whole and the parliament. They are putting fear into the people through suppression. On the other hand, they are trying to please the Rajapaksa henchmen by showcasing thuggery and intimidation.
අනිත් පැත්තෙන් තමන්ගේ තියෙන බලය පාවිච්චි කරලා අර රාජපක්ෂ හෙන්චයියලා සතුටු කරන්න කූර ම්ලේච්ඡත්වයේ මුදාහරින.
During the first 4 months of 2022, the key 52 state-owned enterprises reported a significant loss of 859 billion rupees, which is a significant deterioration compared to the loss of 13 billion rupees in the corresponding period in 2021. This was revealed in the 2022 mid-year fiscal position report.
The report said that the key driver of the loss is the foreign exchange loss of CPC due to the depreciation of the currency. The exchange loss of CPC stood at 549 billion rupees in the first 4 months of 2022.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Vijayasekara says the Ceylon Electricity Board needs restructuring.
In a tweet, Minister Vijayasekara says he hopes to get the approval of the cabinet to commence the unbundling of the CEB with the generation, transmission and supply to be separated. He adds that while tariff adjustments are also needed, it has to be with a plan to reduce the generation cost with more renewable energy. This was following a progressive review meeting of the power plant sector. He says that the CEB has not initiated or commissioned any new major power plants since 2014. He also says, quote, renewable energy is the way forward to revive the power sector, but the attitude towards facilitating such projects are appalling, end quote.
The Railway Trade Union Alliance convened a media briefing today.
None of the ministers have taken steps to develop the Department of Railways. They come into power and provide job opportunities to people from their respective areas and electorates. We need to tell Minister Bandula Gunawardena, the economy is in dire straits because of you. Together with Gotabaya Rajapaksa, you govern the country from the year 2019. The Department of Railways can earn profits. If someone says if it is impossible, we say no, it is possible. There has to be a program for this. We are making losses because we have given this to private companies.
පුද්ගලික ආයතන වලට මේවා ලබා දීමෙන් තමයි මේ අපිට අලාභය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Onto a story that made headlines this afternoon. The Sri Lankan Parliament has been prorogued with effect from midnight on Thursday. And this means the 11 committees in Parliament also cease to function.
The following committees for special purposes cease to function during the recess or the prorogation of Parliament, and all of them have to be reconstituted at the commencement of each session. Committee on Parliamentary Business, Committee on Standing Orders, House Committee, Committee on Ethics and Privileges, Legislative Standing Committee, Ministerial Consultative Committees, Committee on Public Accounts, Committee on Public Enterprises, Committee on Public Finance, Committee on Public Petitions, and Backbencher Committee. New members have to be appointed for these committees once Parliament is commenced once again. President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued an extraordinary gazette proroguing Parliament last night. According to the gazette, Parliament must commence on the 3rd of August. This would be the third session of the 9th Parliament of Sri Lanka. At the end of the prorogation, a new session begins and is ceremonially declared open by the President. He is empowered under the Constitution to make a statement of government policy in Parliament at the commencement of each session of Parliament and to preside at ceremonial sittings of Parliament in terms of the provision stipulated in paragraph 2 of Article 33 of the Constitution. Despite the prorogation, the Committee on High Posts, Sectoral Oversight Committees and Select Committees of Parliament will continue to function.
The President prorogued Parliament to show his power to both the people as well as to the Parliament, to show off that he is the executive president. But first, a president must be accepted in the hearts of the people. Sitting in the height in Parliament does not guarantee this. Only a president that achieves the will of the people can govern the land. That is the sort of a person the people will accept. Someone who became president by getting involved in backroom deals cannot win over the people, regardless of how many speeches and ceremonies he conducts.
දිගින් දිගට සැසිවාර තිබ්බත් උත්සව 100ක් තිබ්බත් මිනිස්සුන්ගේ හදවතට යන්න පුළුවන් කමක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක අපිට කනගාටුයි.
Now, fuel is being issued to vehicles with number plates ending with the digits 6, 7 and 8 today. From the 1st of August, fuel will only be issued to those who have obtained a national fuel pass, also known as the QR system. The Ministry of Power and Energy has urged the general public to register and obtain their national fuel pass. In the meantime, tense situations continue to be reported at filling stations.
Employees at a fuel station in Galenbinurwava, together with the police officers, made arrangements to issue fuel via token system instead of the QR code system. This was following the build-up of long queues after the filling station received fresh fuel stocks yesterday. A tense situation erupted after the police made arrangements to form two queues separating state sector employees and the general public.
ලොකු ප්‍රශ්න වෙලා නැහැ අතරම. අනිත් ආරම්භ බැලුවාම ඒවා ඒ මෙහෙ වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ මිනිස්සු සාධාරණ කියලා තමයි අපි හිතන්නේ. මේ මිනිස්සු අහිංසකයි කියලා තමයි අපි හිතන්නේ. හරිද? ඒක ඔයාලා යන් ඒ ගරුත්වය තියාගන්න. අද දවස් පාර දෙන්න. මේ මාතෘ පාරේ පාර දෙන්න. ඇයි? එතකොට ඇයි විදිය දීලා දින්නේ
Our correspondent noted the situation continued from start to the finish, resulting in disruptions to vehicular movement along the Kaki Kirava Gullen within Weber Main Road. Despite the absence of fuel for many days at the IOC filling station in Marvanella, long queues were seen as people wait expecting fuel stocks to arrive. An individual died while another person was injured after tensions escalated over fuel in Palapatwala, Marthale on the 26th.
In more local news, 2 people suspected to be linked to underworld drug traffickers Singhaya Kunasekaram alias Kimbulale Guna were arrested by police. The arrests were made following a raid conducted near the Camel Lane in Palliavatta, Vattala.
Police have seized live ammunition, Kerala cannabis and heroin from the possession of the suspects aged 45 and 32. They are residents of Colombo 15. Meanwhile, a suspect has been arrested in Jayala with 17.32 grams of controlled substance called ice. The suspect is a 37-year-old resident of Kotugoda.
The Divisavia program to uplift the lives of poverty-stricken families was held in the Kurunegala district today for the 23rd day. The program is supported by LOLC Holdings.
The second phase of the Divisavia program to uplift the lives of the poverty-stricken families continued for the 23rd day today. Today, essential relief packages were distributed among families in 3 areas in the Kurunegala district. The Divisavia program aims at supporting low-income families amidst the economic crisis.
In your international news, the US and Chinese leaders have warned each other over Taiwan during a phone call that lasted more than 2 hours.
President Joe Biden told his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping that the US strongly oppose any unilateral moves to change the island's status. He added that US policy on Taiwan had not changed. Beijing said Xi had told Biden to abide by the One China principle, warning him that, quote-unquote, whoever plays with fire will get burnt. Tensions over the issue have increased ahead of a rumored plan for US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi to visit Taiwan. The State Department says Pelosi had not announced any travel, but China has warned of serious consequences if she were to proceed with such a visit.
Russia has carried out deadly strikes across Ukraine as Kyiv stepped up its effort to retake the occupied southern Kherson region.
5 people were killed and 26 injured when missiles struck the central city of Kropyvnytsky. 3 people died in Bakhmut in the east. Near Kyiv, 15 people were hurt at a military base. Ukraine's northern and southern regions were also hit. This comes as Ukraine seeks to isolate Russian troops in the country's south. A key bridge into the city of Kherson is out of action after Ukrainian forces struck in with long-range rockets. However, the Ukrainian military has warned that Moscow is now redeploying its forces from eastern Ukraine to defend the Kherson region.
The 21st edition of the Commonwealth Games kicks off today in Birmingham.
The opening ceremony of the event, second only to the Olympic Games, was held at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham.
Left Buckingham Palace. It has carried not only my words of the founder of the...
Thank you.
The Games will bring together around 5,000 athletes from 72 countries to compete in 19 sports over 11 days. 110 athletes from Sri Lanka will be participating in these events, including athletics, weightlifting, women's cricket, rugby, badminton, gymnastics and swimming. Sri Lankan swimmer Akalanka Piris will compete in the men's 50 meters butterfly stroke event today. and women's cricket team captain Shamariyata Pattu during the opening ceremony. The tournament ends on the 8th of August.
Brings us to the end of this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For more details on these stories, you can log on to our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First team, where the people come first, I've been Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna. Take care and stay safe.